The sun, that magnificent, fiery sphere at the heart of our solar system, has been shining for around 10 billion years, providing us with light, warmth, and the very conditions that make life on Earth possible. Without it, our planet would be an unrecognizable, frozen wasteland, incapable of sustaining life as we know it. But what if, against all odds, the sun exploded tomorrow? How would it happen? What kind of devastation would unfold? And most importantly, could humanity survive the chaos that follows? First, let's address an important fact. The sun is not a candidate for an explosion, at least not in the way that more massive stars end their lives in spectacular supernovae. Our sun is a relatively small, middle-aged star, and while it will eventually die, its demise will be a slow, gradual process spanning billions of years rather than a sudden cataclysmic event. But for the sake of this thought experiment, let's imagine that, due to some unfathomable cosmic anomaly, the sun unexpectedly detonated like a massive thermonuclear bomb. If this were to happen, you wouldn't even know it at first.
Why?
Because light from the sun takes about 8 minutes to reach Earth. That means for 8 precious minutes, life on our planet would continue as usual. Birds chirping, waves crashing, people going about their daily routines, completely unaware that the source of all life had just vanished. Then suddenly everything would change. At first, the impact wouldn't seem as dramatic as one might expect. Unlike the violent, earth-shattering shockwaves seen in movies, the immediate effects would be somewhat deceptive. The sun's intense heat and radiation would instantly incinerate the side of the Earth facing it. Skyscrapers, forests, cities, everything would ignite within moments, turning into an unrecognizable inferno. However, the more horrifying consequence would come not from the heat, but from the absence of the sun's gravitational pull. The sun's mass keeps Earth and all the other planets in the solar system locked in their precise orbits, but if the sun suddenly ceased to exist, our planet would drift aimlessly into the vast, dark emptiness of space. Without its gravitational anchor, Earth would no longer have a central point to revolve around. It would be like a satellite disconnected from its tether, spiraling unpredictably through the void, possibly colliding with other celestial bodies or being captured by another star system. And then comes the darkness. For the first time since Earth's formation, the planet would be bathed in absolute blackness. No sunrises, no golden afternoons, no sunsets, just an eternal night stretching endlessly across the globe. Cities would become ghostly silhouettes, their artificial lights providing a futile attempt to mimic the now-absent sun. In the following days, the temperature drop would be drastic. Within a single week, Earth's surface would plummet to around minus 18 degrees Celsius 0 degrees Fahrenheit, turning once thriving landscapes into icy wastelands. The oceans, without the sun's heat to keep them in a liquid state, would begin to freeze from the top down, forming thick layers of ice over their surfaces. At first, only the top layers would freeze, but within a year, even the deepest waters would be consumed by ice, making Earth look more like a rogue snowball drifting through the cosmos than the vibrant, blue planet we once knew. At this point, survival above ground would be nearly impossible. The atmosphere itself would start to freeze and collapse, stripping away the protective barrier that shields us from cosmic radiation and meteoroid impacts. Anyone left on the surface would be exposed to the harsh, unforgiving forces of space, deadly radiation, freezing temperatures, and no breathable air. So, is there any hope for humanity? Theoretically, yes. If we had prior warning, perhaps a few years or even centuries of notice, we might have devised a way to survive underground. A network of massive, self-sustaining bunkers built beneath the Earth's crust could house entire cities, maintaining a stable internal temperature through geothermal energy. Since just a few meters below the Earth's surface, temperatures remain a stable 17 degrees Celsius 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Underground shelters could provide a temporary refuge. These fortified subterranean cities would rely on hydroponic farms, advanced water filtration systems, and nuclear energy to keep civilization alive, at least for a while. But even then, this would not be a permanent solution. Within 1,000 years, Earth would become utterly uninhabitable. The freezing atmosphere would collapse entirely, and any remaining air would be swept into space, leaving a lifeless, barren rock floating in the void. Without an alternative energy source, even the most advanced bunkers would eventually fail. The only hope for long-term survival would be to escape Earth entirely, to find a new home among the stars. Could we, in this dire scenario, find another star to orbit? There are billions of stars in our galaxy, some of which might have habitable planets. But the nearest star system, Alpha Centauri, is over 4 light-years away, an insurmountable distance with our current technology. Unless we developed faster-than-light travel or a self-sustaining interstellar spacecraft, finding a new home would be unlikely. But here's the good news. The sun isn't going to explode tomorrow. Stars like our sun don't go supernova. Instead, they go through a slow and predictable life cycle. Over the next 5 billion years, the sun will gradually expand, turning into a red giant. As it grows, it will swallow Mercury, Venus, and possibly even Earth itself before shedding its outer layers and leaving behind a cooling white dwarf, a tiny remnant of what was once a mighty star. Even though we won't be here to witness this cosmic transformation, the sun's death won't be entirely tragic. As it loses its outer layers, the elements that once made up its structure will scatter across the universe, possibly giving birth to new planets and new solar systems, just as our own sun was once formed from the remnants of ancient, long-dead stars. Who knows? Maybe, in some far-off future, a new Earth-like planet will emerge from the sun's remains, orbiting a younger, fresher star. Maybe, on that distant world, another intelligent species will rise, looking up at their sky, unaware that their very existence is the result of a star that once shined over a tiny blue planet called Earth. And if, by some miracle, humanity still exists billions of years from now, where would we be? Would we have colonized distant planets? Would we live on space stations orbiting artificial suns? Would we even recognize ourselves as the same species we are today? Well, that's a story for another What Ifs.